How much are you allowed to talk about on a general basis your 9 years or 8, whatever it was with CIA?
I mean, I don't know how to answer that question, but why don't
Meaning
we just
like,
go into it and
okay,
I'll navigate through.
all right. So just to give people some background who don't have it and aren't familiar with you, after you left the Navy SEALs in '06, how long was it before you went and joined the CIA, and how did that work? What did they bring you in to do?
They brought me. So when I left, I did a quick pump at the State Department. It was a horrible experience. Lasted about a week, maybe 2 weeks, and I said, "Get me a flight home. I'm fucking out of here." Went home, and I didn't know these were the two things at the time, but I was being recruited by a friend to go into to try out for CIA, and then I was being recruited also by another company to go to work for NSA, and which actually the NSA was paying more at the time, but I wound up going with what wound up being the agency because I had personal friends and people that I'd worked with prior to in the SEAL teams that were vouching for that program, and that was extremely important to me. Who am I going to be working with, and what backgrounds, what kind of knowledge do these guys have? I don't want to be working with, no offense, but with the level of work that I was anticipating we were going to be doing, I didn't want to be out there with a Bank of America security guard
Right.
or a local cop. I want to
Right.
be with guys that have been around and seen some real shit overseas. Not that these guys don't see anything, but I like to be with my own. I know what we're capable of, and I know what they're capable of, and I feel more comfortable with my peers. So I chose that, and so what it wound up being at the beginning was it started out as protection for people like Bustamante, right? People that are going out, getting information, meeting with assets, all that kind of stuff. Then this was the program that I was on was it was a new program, and the agency did not realize the capabilities that we brought to the table at first. So the requirements were, I think you had to have at least 6 years special operations to get in the door. And so that specific portion within the agency was, I mean, there was a ton of experience there. And they didn't realize what all we were capable of. It was, these guys can do a lot more than protection. They can do surveillance. They can do, they can, we can pretty much do anything. I mean, it's a large, at this point, it's now a large special operations unit where you're drawn from Green Berets, Navy SEALs, SEAL Team 6, Delta, Green Berets, Air Force PJs, Marine Reconnaissance, Marine Raiders, which are special activities guys, and you combine all of that knowledge into one unit. That's what you get. And they started, so when you go out into the field and you have a good boss and they're like, oh man, I wish we had this capability. It's like, well, fuck, we can do that. What do you want to do? Well, we want to set up comms and be able to push out a surveillance position over here to watch this portion of the border. Yeah, no problem. Well, what do you want? We need to do this. Okay, well, and so all these new capabilities started getting brought to the table, and then that started spreading, and it became a lot more than just basic protection.
Were you all over, or were you? I know you can't say like specifically where, but did you specialize in a certain set of countries, or did you just send as needed?
They just send you as needed. I mean, as needed all over the world, but at the time that I was in, the majority of us went to the Middle East because that's where everything was kicking off.
What did you learn in the CIA in your experience there in all these places, if anything? What did you learn about the world that you didn't already learn in your experience deploying as a Navy SEAL?
Well, when you're a SEAL, it's let's kick in doors, let's go after one guy, and you don't really see all the other pieces that happen. You don't see the intelligence piece much. You don't see how everything kind of comes together. You're just a small part. At the agency, you start to see how everything comes together. You see the intelligence come in, you see the analysts get the intelligence, you see the hits happen, you see how long some of these things take. When I was a SEAL, sometimes I would get really frustrated, like, why is this guy still alive? We could have killed this guy a long time ago. Well, maybe we didn't kill him a long time ago because we're still getting information out of him. And as much of a shithead as he is, he's leading you to bigger bad guys, worse bad guys, and you get them. And so basically, if you're lucky, in the agency, you get a guy that's in the middle of a network. You keep that guy, you pay that guy. Yeah, we know he's a dirtbag and a scumbag and the worst of the worst, but his friends, you get all of them. And then at the end, maybe there's some kind of deal made, or maybe he gets outed too, and so you get to see all of that stuff kind of come together from beginning to the end. Does that make any sense?
100%.
Okay.
That was a great explanation. All right, guys, I got a quick announcement that I've been waiting 3 months to tell you guys all about. Since March, I have been working with a fashion brand, and I'm going to say that very clearly. Not a merch house, a fashion brand, to develop some fashion for this show. We will eventually get our way to a bunch of regular merch as well. I know you guys have been so patient. Obviously, I'm a one-man show doing this thing, so I want to make sure when I do things, I do it right. But this is our first step in that direction. And essentially what we're going to be doing is in a few weeks' time, I'm going to give you the date soon and all the details soon, but in a few weeks' time, we are going to be doing an exclusive pop-up shop. I have been working with this company to develop all different types of designs to see what you guys like. We're going to put them all out there, let you guys figure out what you like the best. And with this first pop-up, it's going to be a limited drop over a limited time, and you're going to want to get your hands on it. So keep your eyes open for more details to come. Other than that, back to the show. But is there, because now you're working, as you just laid out, in like some more, well, let's call it what it is, like more spy work, more, less the kicking in the doors stuff. Do you see patterns of things more when you do that? And specifically what I mean is when you're a Navy SEAL, you have the mission, here's what we're doing, here's where we're going, here's where there's a problem, kick in the door, get it done. People got to die, they got to die. In the CIA, when you're playing this longer term and trying to get information to figure out what's going on in the world, maybe even in places you aren't aware of yet, did you start to notice that you could kind of see trends happening before they happen? And maybe to put a specific one on it, perhaps maybe in the early 2010s, you might have been able, with your work, be able to see that like something like ISIS was starting to form?
Yeah, I mean, it can be hard to say, when I knew it versus when everybody else is knowing, because that's kind of what you're getting at, right? You want to know how far in advance I knew things were happening compared to when it hits mainstream. When you're working in that kind of capacity, you're so busy and there's so many things going on that you don't have time to worry about mainstream media. You know what I mean? You're making mainstream media, but you don't. Every once in a while, you'll get, a message from mom or dad or girlfriend or wife or whatever, husband, and it's, oh, were you guys out here doing this? And it's like, yeah, but you don't really, you're just not thinking like that. You know what I mean? Not at my level, which was a very pretty low level. But I'm not, I wasn't a policymaker or director or anything even close to that at the agency. I was in a very small group of special operations guys that could do a lot of shit for the agency. And on top of that, like when I'm talking about, you can see how everything kind of comes together. That doesn't mean you're previous to that every single time. If you're lucky, you'll see how it comes together. But kind of what I'm getting at is, remember how at the beginning of this I was telling you everything inside of there is very compartmentalized and there's a need to know.
Yes.
That even if you're hunting ISIS down, right? That doesn't mean you have widespread vision of everything that ISIS is doing. You might be, let's just say you're a terrorist that we're after, right? And I told you my rotations on the way up here. Sometimes they were 120 days out, a couple weeks home. Sometimes it was 45 days out, 45 days home. And every time I go back out, there's a good chance I'm going to a new location. You know what I mean? So I may spend 45 days on a project that's been going on for 10 years and it's going to go on for another 5 years. But the only information that I'm previous to is during my 45 days on that project. Once I'm removed from that project and go to another project, I'll never hear about that again unless I get put back on that project. And that only happened a handful of times. And that's cool when you can leave a project and come back to it several years later and see how it's developed and see what all has happened since you've been gone. All the information that's come in. Who did we get? Who did we not get? Who's still out there? What are they doing now? How has the direction of the enemy changed? What's their new goals? You know, and it's very interesting to see how all this develops.
I can't remember if you said this at the very beginning of this when we were talking about your career there at the CIA, but when you would do these deployments, so to speak, how many guys on average would you personally be on that job with, or did it totally vary?
It varied totally all the time. You could be, I mean, I don't want to get into specific numbers, but it could be, it could be a lot. You know, especially if you're at somewhere like a capital, then there's going to be a lot, and there's going to be analysts, there's going to be case officers, there's going to be operators, there's going to be targeters. There's all these people. You know, all of the leadership is going to be there. When you get out to some of these remote places, there may be times where you're out there alone.
And as far as like the cadence goes, obviously there's a huge difference in that you're spying versus knocking in doors now, but was there a big adjustment to how communication in the field went doing this, or was it very similar once you're out there? Minus, being all kitted up and everything, I would imagine it wasn't really like that in the CIA, but like when you're out, let's say you're out in a city and you're doing reconnaissance on certain people, was the I'm trying to think how to ask this right so that people understand what the fuck I'm saying, but like, was your communication with base / with the other people involved in your mission, maybe dispersed throughout the crowd or with you or whatever, was it a similar cadence to when you were working in the SEALs, or was it just a totally new adjustment you had to make?
Sometimes it was. I mean, there's some times where you are. It looks like a special operations unit where you have your kit on, you've got helmets, night vision, guns. I mean, you're talking to Apaches. There's been times where I was working for the agency and I couldn't get through a road, and so I'd call into Apaches and I'd say, "Hey, clear this fucking road out," and they would spin up. Yeah, no, I don't mean like that. But what they would do is they would just fly low, show their belly, fly in an aggressive pattern, and you want to watch. These people know what's up, So they see an Apache come down and just show their belly and raise up like that. Guess what?
That'll do it.
That'll clear the seas. You know what I mean? It's like watching. Nobody wants to get out of your way until the Apaches are on top, and then they're like, "Okay, I'll get out of the way," and then there's nobody on the road, and that would be an overt operation, And then there's times where you look like where you're wearing a sports jacket or a suit in the middle of a Arab country that's dirt poor. and you stick out like a sore thumb, but that may be your cover. You know, your cover may be, hey, this is how we want you to look. This is why. This is your story if anybody rolls you up. And then there's times where you look exactly like everybody else that's out there.
How much like spy training did you get when you went in there?
I mean, quite a bit. A lot of on-the-job training.
On the job. Yeah. So that's what I was asking.
So like, when they go after a guy like me, they're not looking to really train you. They're looking to see how much training you've had, how much you've retained, and how competent of an operator you are, if that makes sense. They're not looking to. This isn't like the Stanford recruiting fair where CIOs set up a little shop and like, hey, come work. Here's a pamphlet. Shoot your resume in. They already know, hey, these are the qualifications we're looking for. Now we want to bring these guys in, and then we want to take the best of who tries out for this. So it's like when I went through, it was about a month-long tryout that you go through. And they just put you through all these different skills tests, and it starts super basic with, hey, let's make sure this guy can run a mile or run a mile and a half or whatever it was, do a bunch of pull-ups. I mean, just a basic physical test, and then you get into the kill house, maybe. And the kill house is going through, remember I told you it was protection, right? This isn't, when I talk about protection, this isn't like protection like, hey, I'm going to wear a fucking earpiece. This isn't Secret Service protection, right? This is undercover. There's only maybe one of us, maybe two, you know what I mean, that are going to have to go in and extract somebody who's been compromised by their own asset, who they're trying to extract information out of. So they'll put, they'll basically simulate it. They might throw you in a hotel and they'll be like, all right, your case officer was meeting an asset, meeting went bad, and the entire hotel's up in arms, da-da-da-da-da, you got to find him and get him, and you're my partner. They want to see how you solve that problem, how you get to him. Are you going to shoot the asset? Are you going to shoot your guy? How are you going to get to him? Who are you going to call? What's your strategy? How fast is it? How fast can you get to him? How effective were all these things? You know what I mean? And so they'll run you through all those kind of scenarios, and then there'll be a driving course, a driving scenario, and so they're not training you. They're giving you scenarios that you should already be able to handle. Does that make sense?
Totally.
And so that's why they call it vetting, and so they take everything that they want out of somebody like me. They make you perform all these crazy skills. They want to see how you think. They want to see how you perform. They want to see how you handle stress. They want to see how you work with other people. They want to see that you can be open-minded enough to have a SEAL and a Green Beret working together, or a Green Beret and a MARSOC, Marine Raider, because everybody, we all do basically the same kind of shit, but everything's very different.
Right.
When you get into these these professions, it's a lot of A personalities, and a lot of guys can't let their ego go and realize, hey, maybe there's more than one way to skin this cat, and adjust on the fly accordingly. And so these guys that are stuck in their ways and their inability to adapt to somebody in a similar skill set, they go, gone, get out, And so, and then that goes all the way into, tradecraft. How do you follow somebody? How do you tail somebody? How do you know if you're being followed? Did you catch the guy that was surveilling you on that training op? All these kind of things.
Did you have already through the Navy SEALs training in that?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. So that's interesting. I wasn't really sure about that aspect within the SEALs because, again, it's like, you're usually kitted up going in and kicking doors. I wouldn't associate that together, but
most guys don't. I got lucky, and I got some training with the MI6. I lucked out.
The MI6, like the British MI6?
Yeah, when I was in the teams.
Are you allowed to talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's not. I mean, it's not terribly exciting to talk about, but I don't mind going through it. We were going to go into Bosnia, basically, and we were going to be hunting war criminals.
Huh.
Back
Sounds
when the
fun.
Bosnia-Kosovo stuff was going on.
Yeah.
I got yanked from that and put into Afghanistan because that was more important at the time, obviously. But yeah, they brought in a team of MI6 guys to actually teach us how to blend in, how to follow somebody in a team of 4, how to act if you're following somebody and they compromise you, start talking to you. What do you do if I follow you into the elevator and we're heading up to the 20th story of the Bank of America building and you ask me what time it is and I shit my pants, and that's what I did the first time. I'm like, oh fuck, I'm supposed to be following this guy. But they teach you, how to be comfortable in situations. If you're following somebody in a mall and you're a 23-year-old guy who they put you in uncomfortable places. So let's say, you're following a woman who goes into Victoria's Secret, and now you got to go into Victoria's Secret as a as a male and act like you're not following this woman, and how to act and how to ask questions. So what do you do in
that situation?
You got to get comfortable real quick. And you have to kind of pre-plan this stuff. Like, what am I going to do if this person thinks I'm following them and they turn around and ask me, hey, what time is it? Hey, why are you following me?
So what would be like a basic thing you'd do in that situation? I mean, you say act comfortable real quick, but you just like answer them with the time and then keep going, or
yeah,
that's it.
Yep. I mean, it's up to you how you present yourself, but the wrong thing to do would be like, it's 10:32. Because then that's that's a dead giveaway. So yeah, the correct thing to do would be like, oh yeah, it's almost dinner time. It's 4:30, 4:45, and that's, you have to act like you belong. And that's extreme. That's like, as easy as it sounds, it's extremely hard to do when the pressure's on.
Do you have
what do you do? How do you, when somebody thinks they're being followed and they start speeding up and you lose them? Are you going to speed up and follow them? Because that's another tactic that people will use.
Well, what do you do in that situation?
You just drive past them and let somebody behind you in the team follow up.
Oh, because you got bad.
Or if you lose them, then you lose them. But losing them, you pick them back up somewhere else. But you do not want to fucking compromise yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If they think you're following them on the highway and they hit 100 miles an hour and start weaving in and out of traffic, the thing you don't want to do is go 100 miles an hour and start weaving in and out of traffic right after them. You just continue on, normal day, and hopefully their paranoia drops. They teach you how to make a pattern of life and how to work outside of that.
Yeah, Andy and I have talked about this. So can you explain that just for people who haven't heard that episode? When you say pattern of life, this is you. Andy was explaining it in a context of like, this is how they catch people if they're a spy, because they look at the one thing that they switch up or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. That is what they do. You figure out people's pattern of life, they figure out your pattern of life. Another reason this shit's all important is because you're the thing that this stuff gets really complicated, but when you're out there and you are surveilling and you are using tradecraft and following people, you also have all these other entities, China, Russia, Iran, they're all in these places too. And so it becomes this enormous spy game where you're like, shit, that's who I want to go after. But this guy who's following me can't know that I'm after that guy, because then they'll try to get to that guy first. And this motherfucker over here, you know what I mean? And so it's identifying all of these different spy games happening all at the same time when you only have one goal. And so you see how complicated this shit can get,
Very complicated.
And then conducting surveillance on their spies to figure out where their safe house is, what vehicles are they driving, what vehicles do we need to watch out for, what kind of equipment do they have. And so it's we call it 360, 720 game, where you got to be on, look up, down, everywhere around, every angle. you know, somebody's on your ass. But I'm sorry, what was the pattern of life question?
Yeah,
right?
you kind of answered it through that a little bit, I think. But just to be clear, like for the people that hadn't heard it, when you say establishing a pattern of life, let's say you drop into an area, right? And this is where you're going to have a job for whatever, a year, whatever it is. You need to, the way Andy explained it is you have to set up like, well, I have this front business, and at 9 o'clock I go here, at 5 o'clock I go here, and my wife cooks dinner at 7, and that's how it needs to be all the time. And if I break that, I'm going to get caught by somebody.
Yeah, pretty much. So everybody has a pattern of life, you know? So most people, they work 9 to 5 job. They get up, make a coffee. They go to the same gym every day. Then they go to the same Starbucks every day. They park in the same parking lot, in the same parking spot. They go to the same cubicle. They come out, they go home. Every Friday night, they go watch their football game at their favorite bar. And so you see, like, you develop this pattern of life. You have a daily pattern of life, a weekly pattern of life, a monthly pattern of life, a yearly pattern of life. And so you build this pattern of life. What a lot of people will do is they'll build this pattern of life because it shows that they're unassuming. Does that make sense? So it's, okay, this is just Julian. He's just here to get his fucking coffee every day.
Yeah.
He's not a threat. You know what I mean? And it makes people become lackadaisical when you get inserted into a place and build your pattern of life and people see your routine. They become lackadaisical. Even people that are surveilling you become lackadaisical. Nothing's more boring than following your ass from your house to the coffee shop every single day for a year. You know what I mean?
Until the one time.
And by the time that one time happens, they're so lackadaisical because they've seen you do the exact same shit every fucking day for a year. That's when you slip it in.
But when you're doing these, you said they could be 45 day, 120 day. That you weren't really doing stuff where like you're in one place for 2 years or 3 years or something.
No.
So what kinds of, and again, I don't know how you go as specific as you can, but like what kinds of things would be a cover? And also, did you have diplomatic help? Like if you got caught, were you deniable to the government or?
Yeah, I'm deniable. You know, I mean, CIA loves contractors for a reason. You know what I mean? So they do. I mean, the majority of it is comprised of contractors, not employees. And that's one of the reasons. But like I said, you know, pattern, I said pattern, you have a daily pattern of life, a weekly pattern of life, monthly, yearly, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, I was never at the exact same place for years, you know, and I can't go into what my cover may or may not have been. It's always different. Sometimes it changes, you know, sometimes it changes at the exact same location, but you start to build these pattern of lives no matter what your duration at that spot is, because maybe, you know, if you think we're the only ones that knows that I was on a 45-day rotation, you're crazy. All of these entities that I just talked about, they all know the rotations as well. You know what I mean? And so the pattern of life it may not be your specific pattern of life, but it's whoever is in your rotation. You know what I mean? Whoever you're replacing, because I'm not just leaving and going somewhere else. Somebody with the exact same skill set is coming in behind me to fill my slot. You know what I mean? And so they'll pick up that pattern of life. We'll have a turnover for a couple of days, maybe a week, and it's like, hey, this is the pattern of life. This is this. This is who you need to watch out for. This is what the Chinese are driving. This is what the Russians are driving. This is what the Iranians are driving. This is what they look like. This is how many of them are. This is their weapons. These are the cameras they use. This is how they transmit information. All that stuff gets passed.
Yeah, that's what's confusing to me about thinking about the specific role you're playing, because you're kind of you're in a spot where you automatically stick out if you're doing that. Like you said, they know the length of some of these rotations, so they see some white dude drop into wherever, you know, where there's not a lot of white people, and you know he's an American, and he's here for 40. Well, CIA spy, right? Like I don't see why, like what you could possibly do to get them to not have some recognizability on you, because then, like, let's say you drop into one country, let's say you do 120-day rotation, and then you leave. the people that were watching you, when they see you drop into some other country a year later, they got to know, right? Like they got to know that you're not just like some business guy. Like there's a high degree of confidence that you're some sort of spy.
Well, I don't know how the hell they do it now with this facial recognition shit, but because that's a whole nother beast that I didn't have to deal with. But you're not always. Look, maybe I'm a businessman, or they think I'm a businessman, and I'm just coming back every 45 days to make a new deal or meet with my business contacts. You know what I mean? Maybe I'm embedded in, I don't know, I'm an oil titan out of Texas, and that's why I happen to be in the Middle East.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's why I'm dressed in a business suit with a Rolex and nice glasses. You know what I mean? And I'm driving a nice car. And then the next place I go, maybe I don't know, maybe you see what I'm getting at?
Yes. Did you ever get made and know it?
Oh yeah.
Like a lot, or?
I mean, not a lot, but yeah, it's happened.
What'd you do?
I got shot at.
Oh shit!
But I mean, yeah, you do get made, and sometimes you have to come to the determination whether it's a judgment call, just like anything else. It's all right. Do we just roll with the punches and continue on, or do we get made by somebody that we need to drop the mission? It depends. What happens if we do drop the mission? Maybe it's a mission that's not, maybe it's not super critical. Maybe we just started it and it's like, all right, let's just wipe what we did, let it cool off for a minute, and then come back. Or maybe it's something like, I mean, it's not everything is of the utmost importance, like the Bin Laden raid.
Right. What's the cadence though? Like when you get shot at, I assume, because again, I don't know what kind of detail you can go into that, but like I assume that's probably in a public place. Maybe it's somewhere where there's a lot of bullets flying all the time. I don't know, but like you just start shooting back, or like what?
No.
Do you have a protocol? Like what's your?
I mean, if you can, and shooting back would be about the last thing you'd want to do, because that's like a dead giveaway. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so the thing to do when you're doing espionage and stuff like that is just do what you can to get the hell out of there. A
few bullets flying.
Yeah. I mean, it sucks. It's horrible. I've had it happen a couple of times, but you just gotta drive on. When you're working there, you're not there to pick a fight. You're not there to not that it's letting your ego get the best of you. I mean, yeah, I wanted to kill every one of those guys that shot at me or shot my vehicle up or whatever, but it just wouldn't have ended well for me. It would have been better for me to escape and evade and let it cool off, because then it's, well, maybe, I don't know, maybe we were wrong.
Yeah.
When
you're in these various places, though, the things we see in the movies all the time, which I take with an enormous grain of salt, because Hollywood obviously changes a lot of things, but like we constantly see that there's like a safe house everywhere. Mm-hmm. Is that somewhat realistic, or did it really vary based on where you were?
Oh, it varies. I mean, it's very realistic, but it varies.
And how do you not, like, that's what I always wondered. How do safe houses not get made? Because they're kind of like sitting ducks. Like, they're a house. People go in and out. They don't move.
It all depends on how much you use it. There's houses there are locations that you may use once a year. You know what I mean? And maybe the family who owns the house is still there. Guess what they have? a pattern of life.
Yes. Got it.
Maybe you enter into that pattern of life and you happen to have dinner with them every Friday, and so it becomes a normal thing. That would be a safe house.
So it's more of a symbol in the word rather than an actual, you just go there when things go red.
It's not a mold. You know what I mean? It's not like, it's not every safe house is the same. A safe house could be a hotel room. A safe house could be a house. A safe house could be a water plant. A safe house could be an office building. It could be anywhere. You know, it all depends on what fits in with what you're doing. You know, it's not, and the best way to hide is in plain sight. It's not the Batman cave or the house that's way out in the country that nobody. Those aren't, because what do I do if somebody's following me out there? Why the hell is this white dude? You know what I mean?
It's got my ranch out in the country here.
Yeah. I'm just going to my finca out in the middle of nowhere in Colombia. But you know what I mean? It's everything has to fit. Everything has to fit the narrative.
Did you speak other languages too? Or did you have to learn anything?
No.
Interesting. So and I guess that makes sense, because like if you're going in with different types of covers, like forms of American businessmen, so to speak, something like that, that does make sense. But still, like when you get on the ground, I mean, your channel was initially called Vigilance Elite, and you talk about like hypervigilance and things like that, and maybe we can get to some of the effect that that's had just due to your career and some PTSD and things like that, and being hyper aware of stuff. But like when you get on the ground somewhere new, did you have a go-to list of, I don't know, 3, 5, 10 things, like behaviors that you would do outside of establishing a pattern of life to get full awareness of your surroundings and get comfortable with the area?
Well, what do you mean?
Did you have a strategy? Like I put you in a new country, right? Like you're going there for 45, 120 days, whatever it was. You drop on the ground, you've never been there before. It's a new mission, new people involved, whatever. Do you have like a list of things for your own personal checklist that you need to go through to be comfortable by day 2 there? Oh,
yeah. I mean, first thing you need to do is a map study. You need to figure out where you're at, the lay of the land, where are the friendlies, where are the safe houses, where's the hospital, what's our evacuation plan, what do I do if I get hit here versus hit here? Where are our where's all the government facilities that we're going to be working in and out of, both foreign and our own, you know? And so you need to be, when I would show up into a country, the first thing that happens is you get the lay of the land. You do the map study, you figure out where all the sites are, you learn all the back roads. You aren't navigating off of, Google Maps or a GPS or anything. You should be able to navigate that entire city. I mean, if it was a place like Philadelphia, it would take 2 weeks, and I would know it.
The whole city in 2 weeks?
Damn near the whole city.
Is there like a mental trick you do to be able to patternize that?
You just do it. You start with the major routes, all the interstates, then you go to the smaller state highways, then you get into the neighborhoods, then you section it off, you know what I mean? So this is I don't know anything about Philadelphia. I've only been here for 2 hours, but you know what I mean? It's if it was New York City or something, you would know all the boroughs, right? And then you would be able to section it all off and say, all right, these are the different boroughs. Now I'm going to get into each borough and learn each and every one of those. And so you just take it in sections. You know what I mean?
But you also got to know which roads are one-ways, which roads have people that regularly walk in them, like a street square sometimes, which areas have construction. Like, just in my head, thinking about a city like the size of Philadelphia that you're dropping into somewhere in the Middle East, that just sounds like
Yeah, it sounds insane, but it's
Yeah.
not. I mean, you already know all the traffic patterns. You know when to go. You know when traffic's going to be heavy. You know the back way if there's a wreck, how to get home so you're not sitting in the traffic because you're a local, right? But you've just accumulated this knowledge because you live here. You're not attempting to learn it. When you go to a place like that, that's your whole focus. I'm going to learn everything about this fucking city. You know what I mean? And you get passover from the guy that was there ahead of you, and you give passover to the guy behind you. You during that turnover, you know what I mean? You're helping this guy like, hey, stay out of this neighborhood. Maybe you don't need to know that neighborhood, you know? And so there's a lot of turnover, a lot of tips, a lot of secret stuff that, you know what I mean? Not like secret classified stuff, but just shortcuts and all kinds of things that you've learned during your time there that you can pass on to the next guy. You know, and so is that making sense?
That answers the question for sure. Because I mean, there's so much that would go into these high octane scenarios, and the entire time you have to maintain a cover. Like you can't get caught. Like you said, it was like 24/7, 365. I mean, when you're over there, every second counts. You make a mistake for 1 minute, that's it. You know, so the idea of a layperson like me trying to wonder about dropping into all these new places and getting all this information like that so fast and being able to have it like the back of my hand, it seems like impossible when you think about it. But I mean, I guess that's kind of, in a lot of ways, the intense training and hyper awareness you had to have as a Navy SEAL pretty much prepares you for that, I would guess.
I mean, it's not. Yeah, it is difficult. I'm not going to lie, but it's not as difficult as you think. I mean, I wish I could see a map right now and I would just show you what I would do. You know, but let's talk about pull up Philadelphia.
Yeah. Let's pull up New York because that's like a grid pattern. That's why I want to ask that.
Let's pull up something that's not a grid because most cities aren't a grid.
All right, well, let's pull up Philadelphia. Let's go with you. Okay. Here we go. I'll put this in the corner of the screen for people to see.
Cool. So you see all those yellow roads?
Yeah.
I could learn those in a day. Those are all your major thoroughfares, right? That's you're going to get anywhere you need to go in a hurry. You need to be on one of those yellow roads, right?
They're the arteries.
They're the arteries. How long do you think it would take you to learn that? Just that.
I could do in a day. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So now you're starting to see it's not maybe as difficult as you think. Then after you learn those, then you're going to learn where's the shopping mall, where's the hospital, where's the police station, where's the military base, where's this, all right? And then you just start yourself at different points throughout the city. All right, take me to the police station, okay? You know, and you just use all those yellow thoroughfares that I'm talking about. Then you break it up in neighborhoods, in most important, most critical to least critical. So let's say...
You got northeast.
Yeah, let's say we're going to be, all right, we got a lot of activity that we're going to be doing in Kensington. Well,
sorry to hear that.
You know, I don't know anything about Kensington, but you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Then I'm going to go to Kensington and I'm going to learn all the different little streets and neighborhoods and everything inside, all the businesses, all the checkpoints. What time do the businesses shut down? They call it area familiarization. Then once I'll probably learn that in a day or two. You know what I mean? Then I'll move to the next. All right, where else are we going? Oh, over here. Okay, get in there. You know what I mean? And that's how you do it. You just break it down. So when you do it like that, it's not nearly as complicated as you might think.
Patterning it out, kind of like everything else. That makes sense. I don't know. I guess when you don't do this stuff, you start to think of like how, you know, it's kind of like that with anything complicated. It's like, how the hell do they do that? Like when I watch an engineer do something, I'm like, where do you even start? But then everyone's got to start somewhere, make sense of it. So
Yeah.
that's pretty easy. But
Just break it down.
But when you are like working with, I mean, you mentioned like obviously there's a lot of guys who are from all the different types of special forces and high level military across who are doing jobs like you, but then you're working with the guys like Bustamante, who are in that case career CIA spies. Was there ever a cultural problem there, or was there always a mutual respect? Like, how did you Did you experience that?
Yeah, there was definitely some cultural problems. But like I said, you're coming. So agency likes to recruit from, when I was there, Ivy Leagues. So what does Ivy League produce? A lot of liberals, right? Which is fine. I'm not going political here. But you have liberals, and you have to have tact, and you can't be blatant about things. You have to. And I'm coming from a super alpha profession where it's guys like me who like to go to the gym, get tattoos, and shoot things and blow shit up. You know what I mean? Kick doors in. And so when you get these type of personalities together, they generally clash.
That's not what I was going to be talking about, but that's interesting. When I say cultural, I was thinking like the like, oh, you're different, you're not us or whatever. But you're talking about even like on like a human level, there was just a whole different worldview, so to speak.
Oh yeah.
That's interesting to me that would, like the stereotype of what you just described would impact, I'm just going to name a random place here, some fucking mission in Abbottabad. You know what I mean? Because it's like, you don't really have time to worry about that stuff. At least that's what I would think.
But when that stuff comes in, I mean, in the SEAL teams, if somebody messes up, you can be like, hey, what the fuck were you thinking? Why didn't you fucking go through that door? You didn't clear your fucking corner. What the fuck is your problem? You know what I mean? And you can be abrasive and shame them and then lift them back up. You know what I mean? So that they don't fuck up again.
Yeah.
They need to know the severity of it. Yeah. If you do that shit at the agency with a case officer who just got recruited out of Harvard, you're going to make him fucking cry, and he's going to go whine to his superior, and then your ass is going to get in trouble.
See, some of the guys I know in this space that I've dealt with, they're not that type. Like I've had Jim Lawler in here, he was 25 years.
He's an old
nuclear,
school dude.
But yeah. It's interesting to talk with you because your expertise was in the field undercover with nuclear arms deals and things like that. And it's like the whole reason we went to Iraq was because they had WMD, and that turned out to not be true.
That's exactly right. People ask me about that sometime. And it is true that Saddam Hussein had been working on nuclear weapons before then. He had used chemical weapons against the Kurds. The Kurds are an ethnic group there in Iraq. Killed thousands of them. In fact, one of his cousins was known as Chemical Ali. And Chemical Ali used
Andy Bustamante, you know him. I mean, he's intense as fuck. Like
Andy didn't have to. I don't believe Andy worked with us. I don't think he was in locations where we were. We were in the worst of the worst places. And so what you had is a lot of Ivy Leaguers coming into war zones just to punch their ticket so that they could get a promotion.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, so they're not...
And I'm not... And I want to be clear, that's not a hit on them. All I'm saying is you're getting two different cultures.
Yes.
Very different cultures. You're getting... I mean, Do you see what I'm getting at?
Yes, I'm just shocked they would send that type of stereotype into the worst of the worst places.
They have to.
It's like
they need the experience. They need to get their people experience. And a lot of times those attitudes change, but my attitude changed and their attitudes changed, and you learn how to work together to get the fucking mission done. But yeah, for a while, it was a culture shock for me because I wasn't, for lack of a better term, I wasn't used to having to baby people. And there you have to baby people.
And how old were you when you joined the SEALs again?
I joined when I was 18, I think.
Yeah, so this is like in your adult life. That's all.
I was out at 24.
But this is, my point is, like, this is the attitude you know.
Yeah.
You don't know another real world where it's not like, get your fucking shit together.
There's no time for crying in the SEAL teams. There's lots of time for crying at the agency.
I understand people got to get their experience, but that still does surprise me a little bit that they do it like that. Because I also don't want to comment on some things with Andy because I know some of that's still, like, classified. I don't want to fuck up, but we could talk about that offline. Like, you know, he was also a very...
He was just into different stuff than I was into.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
He was a little bit more of a unique situation than just like some of the case officer stuff you're talking about. But still, like, as you said, to use your words, the worst of the worst places, I would think there'd be a little bit of a people who have a reality check that this is not, a domestic issue to fight over.
You have to get, in the end, now I'm going to go on the defensive side and defend these guys, you know what I mean, who are coming out of Ivy Leagues. They don't know what they're getting into. You know what I mean? They don't, you don't see the shit that I see in the media. You know what I mean? So when they're showing up in a remote location in Afghanistan, the media isn't showing what ISIS is doing. The media isn't showing what Al-Qaeda does to people. Wait till you see this shit that I just interviewed this kid, Tyler Vargas Andrews, who was the Marine sniper that got blown up during the Afghan withdrawal. And where do you see what he was seeing? Like, during that. They had people 100 yards away from where we evac, just lining women up, lining kids up, lining men up, literally just shooting them in the back of the head one by one. Just executing people. You think they're going to put that shit on the media?
Well, they did for a short time in like 2014, and then they stopped.
So you get these guys coming out, they show up there, they don't realize how bad it is. They just don't realize how much of a threat it actually is. And so you have to show them.
I'm obviously naive, but I'm pretty shocked that, like, again, the people coming in out of college who I know, according to when I talk to these spies and some of the training they go through, they'll go through 12, 18 months of training. I'm kind of shocked that, like, the CIA doesn't wake them up a little bit with this. I know it's a whole different thing when you get there, obviously, but, like, still.
They don't know where they're going. That's the thing. Like, you can't. Yes, the feelings are a thing over there. It's stupid. I come from a place where we don't give a shit about feelings. We just want the fucking job done because the security of our nation depends on it. And but they're not brought up like that. They're not. And they're not necessarily going to be working in places like that. They might be working in China or Taiwan, or they might be working, a lot of clash happened with guys that were working the Cold War back in the Cold War days with Russia.
What do you mean clash?
Because they've never worked in a hostile environment. They've worked in permissive environments. You know what I mean? They're working in cities like Philadelphia, where you're not going to get shot at every time you walk down.
Right.
At least I hope not. But you know what I mean? And then they come to a place like Kandahar, Afghanistan, or Helmand Province, Afghanistan, or right in the middle of Baghdad in 2005, and they show up and they don't understand how bad it is. And then they do. Doesn't take long, but they figure it out, They're like, oh shit.
The culture shock doesn't last.
These guys might be onto something here, and so it's but, that was extremely frustrating for me at the beginning, and then until I figured out, okay, I just, I have to adapt, and that's going to make me more effective. It's going to make them more effective, and they figure it out too. They figure out hey, we have to adapt. Maybe feelings aren't as important as I thought they were, and for me, maybe feelings are a little bit more important than I thought they were.
Meet them halfway a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah, not everyone's going to have that. Again, like, you have the most extreme perspective because of what you had to do before. You were the most prepared you could be for something like that. And I recognize not everyone's going to have something like that.
Yeah.
But, like, looking at it today, the CIA thing is such an interesting subcategory online. I see the worst of it because of all the content with, like, Bustamante and stuff where I see what people say. But what's your... Like, I personally subscribe to the idea that no place is perfect and mistakes get made and there are bad people in anything that ever happens, right? Like, whether it be government, private, whatever, you're always going to have some bad people. But, with all the heat that people put on the CIA online these days, like even on your episode with Bustamante, I know a lot of your fans were talking about that just like they were on all his other videos as well. Like, oh, you can't talk to this fucking CIA guy, can't be trusted, like whatever. Like, what's your attitude on the agency? How do you view their work in the world? Do you think they're extremely important, or do you think they got to be tamped back? Like, what's your takeaway?
I mean, I understand everybody's frustration. You know what I mean? I get frustrated with it too. I think 99% of the people that work over there are solid Americans doing great work, and the agency is the best at what they do. I've seen how other countries operate with the equivalent, and we are, for the most part, leaps and bounds over anything any other country does. Unfortunately, sometimes bad leadership will bring a bad rap to an organization, and people have a right to be pissed. I don't fucking blame them.
Yeah, yeah.
I feel the same way about the FBI, but I know lots of people that work for the FBI, and they're not bad people.
Yeah.
But so I get it, man. You know what I mean? It is bad shit has happened. A lot of good stuff's happened too.
The thing I always try to remember is that last point you're making right there. It's like, we don't really see the good shit.
Yeah.
You generally only hear about the bad shit, right? And sometimes, like, you hear it and you're like, that's bad. Like, heads need to roll for that. That is what it is. But, when I start seeing, we've talked a lot about today, like the division in the country and how things are pushed on society. And I start seeing, 3-4 years ago, everyone's like, defund the police, right? At this level. And now you're seeing like, defund the 3-letter agencies, get rid of them. This 0 or 100 mindset that we seem to have in society, with what I would characterize as, whether you like it or not, some very important things, right? I got a lot of problem with policing in this country. We can't have a country without police, though, right? I got a lot of problem with MK Ultra and some other things that the CIA has done. I also, in some things, recognize like maybe the intentions were okay, the execution was just bad, but like they also are like the first line of defense in the information war around the world. Like, do you just want to get rid of that? Like, it doesn't really work that way.
I'll put it to you this way. Throughout my entire career, minus bin Laden, the number one guy had about a 2-week life expectancy.
Oh, right.
So that means there were a lot of number one guys. And that's because the CIA is so fucking good at what they do.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, bin Laden was such a...
And if the CIA wasn't around, the number one guy would probably still be there. But every 2 weeks, there's a new number one. Every 2 weeks.
It's
they keep having to replace them because the intelligence comes out and then we fucking kill him. And then the intelligence comes out and he gets killed. And he gets killed. And he gets killed. So we went through a lot of number ones and even more number twos and even more number threes. And that's all because of the work that these people are doing over at CIA, NSA. I'd like to correct myself in the next section. I'm not trying to put out any disinformation here, but it did come to me in a conversation after we recorded this podcast with a former colleague of mine that it was the number 2 that had a 2-week life expectancy, not the number 1. So I apologize for any confusion that this may have caused, but I just want to set the record straight and say that was the number 2 that had the 2-week life expectancy, not the number 1. We're talking about high-value targets that the CIA was after.
And there's still things like we should raise. I mean, obviously, you and I would have a disagreement with Andy on some issues with like privacy and domestically, like some of those things. I understand where he's coming from because of his, where he was and his worldview. But, I think those are good arguments to have publicly and to keep places like that in check. I don't think those arguments should go to fuck these people, get rid of them. Like that just doesn't, you don't really get to in life, at least from what I've seen in my young years, like you don't really get to pick up your ball and go home. Yeah. Like that's not really how the world works. You sometimes you got to play ball with people that maybe you don't love, you know? And it's like, okay, people have issues with things the CIA did. We'll talk about it on here. We do. But like, get rid of it and watch what happens.
Yeah. It's command structure. That's what needs to be reorganized.
I feel like some interesting people find their way to the top of that stuff.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. You know what's funny? The guy who oversaw, because the CIA like officially started after World War II. I guess it was the OSS before that, but like CIA was like 48 or something. The guy who oversaw probably the most tumultuous years in the history of the CIA was George Tenet from 97 to 2004. I mean, we can all do math out there and figure out what happened. And yet when you hear all these ex-head guys talk and you hear him talk, he's the realest and most likable guy of all of them. And the thing that I think, and when I talked to CIA guys who served under him, like Jim Lawler was like reading, he had in his pocket, he had like a notebook with like letters, like handwritten letters that George Tenet has sent him. And like they talk about him like such a saint. And if I could guess totally from the outside, one of the big problems that perhaps some of these most senior positions have is you get people up there who have zero empathy and no understand, like they look at everything as X's and O's. And a guy like him who happened to be there during, you know, there was some problem with politics during that time that he didn't really have control over, but like that's one thing that he understood pretty well. And I kind of wonder, forget some of the things that happened there and who you want to blame for that, but I wonder if leadership had more people with his personality traits, if things would be a little different. Because sometimes from the outside, it seems like a lot of these people who make their way to the top are very cold and calculating.
I mean, I don't really know what to add to that, but yeah, I mean.
Okay, all right.
I mean.
So I'm on to something.
Yeah, I don't know what to add to that, so.
All right, that's cool.